But first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Most High Power. You know what I'm saying? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to say shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad and peace to all my brethren and sisters who push in
Hello?
the name of Christ. How you doing, love? And peace to all my brethren and sisters who push in the name of Christ. And so we're going to do it like that. But without further ado, I'm going to be getting to this presentation. This is segment 2, part 1. You can go to Jesus DiCaprio, my channel, and you can find segment 1, part 1 and part 2, the mother they missed. This is segment 2, part 1, picking up off of where we left before, because my information was, I had so much information, I had to put it in so many different segments. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into the information. And this is going to be profitable. Let's get it, family. This is where I left off at. This is a book by Emily Teeter. It's called Religion and Rituals in Ancient Egypt. And I titled this one, Communication with the Gods, page 279. A lack of faith and belief is un-African. Because, you know, it's a thing in a so-called conscious community where these brothers say, you know, you Bible believers, y'all just believe. Y'all believe. See, in Africa or Kemet, we don't believe. Y'all believe. Y'all deal with faith. Well, let's see. Let's see how real. Let's see, do they believe, or was it just, or are we just crazy? Let's get it. Egyptian religious practices provided a great number of ways through which devotees could have immediate contact with the gods. Although ordinary people were denied entrance to the sanctuaries of temples, other areas were designated for public use in assemblies. Chapels of the hearing ear, located in the area of public access, were devoted to relaying requests to the gods. A devotee could establish a permanent presence in the temple by dedicating a statue of himself to act as a surrogate and eternally absorb daily rituals and prayers. Portable stelas decorated with ears, as well as dreams and trance, made it possible for individuals to contact the gods without even entering the temple. If one was not personally capable of contacting the gods, intermediates could help. Most contact with the gods was motivated by a search not for philosophical knowledge or even counseling, but rather for resolutions of everyday matters, especially issues of health. A characteristic feature in contact with the divine was it almost mercantile character. The petitioner gave something, prayer, food, offering, or a votive object, in confident expectations of stimulating divine action. The ability of people from all strata of society to turn to their gods at any time for any reason underscores the immediacy of religion in the ways in which faith was incorporated into all aspects of Egyptian life. Let me read that again. The ability of people from all stratas of society to turn to their gods at any time and for anything underscores the immediacy of religion and the ways in faith was incorporated into all aspects of life. So it was going up above and beyond faith. We're dealing with faith, but they were going with faith, but above and beyond. It's like it's an underscore to just say faith. Let's keep it moving. They was going above and beyond. So they believed on a whole different level. Next slide. Text and translations, number 4. In Ankh Erik en Rastella of Patahesi, account number 1554, Manchester Museum in Britain. Let's see what it says. This is a fine example of a rare type of stela made to honor the effective spirits of Re. Aqua, Ekur, and Re. Only around 60 are known, and these dates exclusively to the later kingdom, 1295 through 1069 BC. The limestone example is 29 centimeters in height and was found by PT3 in the first quarter of the mortuary temple at Meripata, 1213 to 1203 on the Theban West Bank. The effective spirit of Re, Ptah has he justified. Let's see what this says. Favorite Ptah is shown in the classic pose of the effective spirits, sitting and holding a lotus blossom to his face in one hand. In the other hand, Ptah Hesses holds an Ankh, the sign of life. This is extremely unusual scene depicting ordinary mortals, usually only beings the privileged of deities and kings. These attributes indicate the suprahuman state of the effective spiritual way. They were believed, we got a key word, they were believed to be the blessed dead, close ancestors who had made a successful transition to the afterlife and were able to journey with the sun god Ra in his bark across the sky. The solar bark depicted in the upper right registry of the stela illustrates this concept. Those privileged enough to be on board this divine cruise ship across the heavens were thought particularly well placed to intercede in the lives of humans and act beneficially for them. These are spirits. Let's go. Prayers. I heard Polite talk about one time, y'all pray. We don't pray. Prayer ain't gonna do nothing. Okay. Prayers in the form of letters are known, which address the Aqua or the Aku directly. Stelas such as this would have been dedicated to win the favor of the effective spirits and were often set up by relatives. The text above the figure of the donor of the stela identifies him, made by the guardian of the temple of millions of years, pent renewed justified of thieves. The source is on the screen. So we see, family, that they were dealing with a whole different level of belief and faith. This was dealing on a whole deeper aspect than what is being flung around here as a just simple old belief system or faith system. Let's get it. We're gonna deal with the Ba, and you see my source on the page. I'm gonna go straight to the point. I'm gonna start from here. The Ba can be literally translated as to come alive or spiritual manifestations. The Ba is essentially a person's breath of life, an invisible source of energy. As the breath of life, the Ba is a person's vital force, the activating life force of their being. A person's Ka united with the Ba forms the non-physical qualities of a person. Their unique body of the Ba represented by the body of a hawk to symbolize the Ba's immortality or mobility or ability to move between earth and the heavens. Now in African cosmology and Ife, this is what they call Orisha. They call it worshiping the personality of the person. You understand? But this is what you would call the Ba. Now check this out. Let's get it. It says, between earth and heaven, the visible and the invisible, and its ability to transmigrate between the realm of the physical and the spiritual. Although the Ba is a person's earthly vital force, right? At the time of death, the Ba is believed to leave the body through the discharge of the flesh and return to the spirit world to meet Atum, while the body remained behind. The Ba is believed to return to the earth, inhabiting another body, the Ka. A person's Ba is also said to return to visit its family and friends. Do you understand me? Understand that, people. Now y'all can go back and read the rest and rewind the tape. I'm just going to hit some key points and we're going to move along. And y'all see the source on the page. The man god Osiris. So you know they say Osiris, you know, Osiris, Osar. Oh, this is just a force of nature. He's never a real person, mythical person. This is a mythical character. Okay, well, let's see about that. And this is just light work I brought out. Nothing even really, it's heavy for these brothers because they don't know a thing. They run around talking about Africa this, Africa that, but it's light work for us Israelites or for us Bible believers who into the scriptures because we know what this stuff is dealing with. Let's see. A central element of the later Osirian myth, or Osar, the pairing of Heru and Set is attested from by the middle of the first dynasty, predating the first attestations of Osar by 6 centuries or more. And I'm going to be going into how all these gods came from different places. You have Re, or the god Ra, who came from Upper Egypt. And then some come from the east. And you definitely had Horus, who comes from the east, because when Horus came from the east, they ran into the Osirian cult. The Horus cult and Osirian cult got to beefing. Then the Horus cult and the Set cult got to beefing. These was actual tribal people, tribes of peoples warring with each other about these gods. Then you had the Osirian cult pushing in on the cult of Re. So the cult of Re and the Osirian cult got to beefing. And they was warring with each other about these different gods. And it wasn't until the combining of the North and the South that these gods were amalgamated and put in one, just like what Constantine did with Christianity. Said all y'all can bring all your pagan gods, come on over here. Long as we all just gonna be one, y'all can keep worshiping y'all gods, do all that, we just gonna be one. Same thing. Let's get it. Predating the first attestations of Asar by 6th century or more, Abbe Emilinouet, a French Egyptologist, discovered a series of tombs in present-day Omer el Gaab Anu, in which the tomb of Asar was found. Now, let's keep going. This makes probable the notion that Asar may have been a real-life personage who was later deified by the people of Kemet. Yes, he was. Over the centuries, the temple of Asar was successfully rebuilt or enlarged by Sepi I, Amos I, Thutmose III, Ramses III, Amos II. Statuettes of Asar have been found as far away as in the Shabang region of the Republic of Congo in Central Africa. And what is the statues represent? The statues are what you would call Ka statues. It's for the spirit or the Ka of the deceased to dwell in and partake in the food offerings or whatever else you might have you. Let's keep going. And y'all see the sources on the page. Here we go. This is the tomb of Asar. This was found at the entrance. This is a funerary entrance to the funerary complex. And this is by the Men Project. Y'all can look them up. Let's see what it says. A Spanish-Italian archaeological team incorporated with the Egyptian ministries has an incredible discovery in the necropolis. So basically, I ain't got to read all of it. Basically, they found the tomb of Asar. As you can see up on the top left-hand corner is a Ka statue of him in the back. Right there. And also, they had underground shafts and tunnels, pools, where people would swim through one tunnel and swim and then come up in another different part of the tomb. And this attests to the fact that I pulled out some paper about 6 months ago and presented to this brother Consul Shed's move about how these Osirian cults, they was going in these tombs doing all. I was going crazy though. But now they finding them with the pools in them, the shafts and everything that I was bringing out 6 months ago. Now let's get it. Here we go again. As you can see my source right here. The Osirian tomb. You see they in there. They in there. The source is on the page. Let's go. This is Nephthys and Isis in front of the bird of Nephthys and Isis in the form of birds of prey which watch over the mummy of Osiris. Stop. I never knew they made mummies for forces of nature. I didn't know you could mummify a force of nature. I never knew that. I want to see an example of a mummified force of nature from somebody. We have the birds of Isis and Nephthys over the mummy of Osiris, Asar. This 19th dynasty tomb in Nefertari, Valley of the Queens, Western Thebes. And you can get the source, The Complete Gods and Goddesses of Ancient Egypt, page 159, Wilkinson. Help me out, family. If you out there, the family out there, if y'all know of any instance where a force of nature was mummified, please send me that information. Let's go. Encyclopedia of African Religion. A set. Let's deal with Isis. Was she a force of nature? Let's see. Let's jump to the point. A set is represented the female productive forces in nature. You see, she's represented as a force of nature, but what they don't understand, her spirit, she controls the force of nature. She's not the wind. We'll prove that. She's not anything. She's not an element that's blowing her. It will prove that. Asar represents the female productive force of nature. Commissions recognize her as a moon goddess and a mystic goddess of the what? Supernatural. So we're dealing with something outside of nature. But have our brothers tell it the supernatural is nonsense. But she was believed to be a supernatural. But if you really look, she's a moon goddess that's within nature, the moon. We can see that in the cosmos. And then she's a supernatural being outside of the cosmos as well. So this is a light being or an entity controlling the physical environment, controlling the climate of the physical world, controlling helping out birth. People give birth, easing their pain, women easing their pain. Can't no force of nature help you ease your pain through birth. But let's keep going. I don't want to take all day. A symbol, goddess of supernatural and associated with Tayet, a symbol of magic and Kemet. In addition, Commission saw her as a healer and protector of marriage and the symbolic mother and protector of the Per'ah. She also protected the deceased, providing them with nourishment for their journey in the Duat. Now, the Duat is the world you leave after the physical body dies, the world you visit, right? When you going and getting your heart weighed and all that. This is outside of nature. And this is a force of nature that's outside of nature, helping somebody along a journey through the Duat. Give me a break. Page 79, people. Source on the page. Let's get here. And you know they say, oh, that's spookism, that's crazy, that's y'all. But what they won't tell y'all is this. They won't tell y'all about these stellas here. This stella is called the magic stella. I'm about to go into this stella and watch how this stella turn out. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of you seen this stella, but I don't think they've read to y'all what's actually on this stella. So let's read what actually is on this stella. Okay? How about that? So we're gonna go source Legend of the Gods of Egypt, Egyptian, by Wallace Budge, starting at chapter 8, page 142, place 17 to 18. Many examples of this talisman are to be seen in the great museums of Europe, and are there several fine specimens of the third Egyptian room in the British Museum. They are usually called the Sippi of Horus. The largest and most important of all these Sippis is that which is commonly known as the Metternich Sippi, because it was given to Prince Metternich by Muhammad al-Pasha. It was dug up in 1828 during the build of a cistern in the Franciscan monastery in Alexandria, and was first published with the translation of a large part of the text by Professor Gonishev. The importance of this stela is enhanced by the fact that it mentions the name of the king in whose reign it was, Nectavius. What did it say? Nectanebus the first, who reigned from 378 to 360. Now let's get into what this stela says. Let's dig into this. The sounds of fertility. Let's get into what this stela says. This gonna blow y'all mind. At this point on the stela, the spells are interpreted by a long narrative put in the mouth of Isis, which supplies us with some accounts of the troubleshoot that she suffered and described the death of Horus. Wait a minute. Somebody gonna have to explain to me a force of nature dying from a scorpion sting. Now let's get into it, because it just ain't that simple. It's gonna get harder for me to explain. Now she was pregnant with a Horus, and Horus died. Right? Now let's read the story. This is crazy. The death of Horus through the sting of a scorpion bite. Isis is seen was shut up in some dwelling by Set after he murdered Osiris, probably with the intention of forcing her to marry him, and so assisted him to legalize his seizure of the kingdom. Isis, as we have already seen, had been made pregnant by her husband after his death. Now, and Thoth appeared to her and advised her to hide herself with the unborn child and to bring him forth in secret. And he promised her that her son would succeed in due course to his father's throne. With the help of Thoth, she escaped from her captivity and went forward, accompanied by 7 scorpion goddesses, who brought her to the town of Per-Siu on the edge of the reed swamps. Check this out. She applied to a woman for a night's shelter, but the woman shut her door in her face. To punish her To punish her, one of the scorpion goddess forced her way into the woman's house and stung her child to death. The grief of the woman was so bitter and sympathy, compelling that Isis laid her hands on the child, and having uttered one of her most potent spells over him, the poison of the scorpion ran out of his body, and the child came to life again. The words the words of the stela are cut on the stela, and they were treasured by the Egyptians as an infallible remedy for scorpion stings. When a woman saw that her son had been brought back to life by Isis, she was filled with joy and gratitude, and as a mark of her repentance, she brought large quantities of things from her house as gifts for Isis. And there were so many that they filled the house of the kind, but poor women who had given Isis shelter. Check this shit out. Now, soon after Isis had restored to life the son of the woman who had shown churlishness to her, a terrible calamity fell upon her. For her beloved son Horus was stung by a scorpion and died. The news of this event was conveyed to her by the gods, who carried out to her to come see her son Horus, whom the terrible scorpion had killed. Isis stabbed with pain at the news, as if a knife had been driven into her body, ran out distraught with grief. It seemed that she had gone to perform a religious ceremony in honor of Osiris in a temple at Hetek Hemet, leaving her child carefully concealed in Sekhet An. So she's at a ceremony, performing a religious ceremony in the honor of Osiris in a temple in Kemet. This is force of nature. Okay. Right. During her absence, the scorpion which had been sent by Set, forced its way into the biding place of Horus, and there stung him to death. What is the biding place of Horus? It is his baby pen. It is his crib. This is what they used to use wands for. This spells over the babies for. This is his crib. A force of nature ain't got a crib. Let's go. And stung him to death. When Isis came and found the dead body. Wait a minute. When Isis came and found the dead body, she burst forth in lamentations, the sounds of which brought all the people from the neighboring districts to her side. The people from the neighboring districts? So these people ain't forces of nature? And this district ain't a field of reeds and afterlife? Somebody got to explain something. Right? As she related to them the history of her suffering, they endeavored to console her. And when they found this to be impossible, they lifted up their voices and wept with her. Then Isis placed her nose in the mouth of Horus so that she might discover if he still breathed. But there was no breath in his throat. And when she examined the wound in his body made by the fiend Anuab, she saw it was traces of poison. No doubt about it, his death then remained in her mind, and collapsing him in her arms, she lifted him, and in her transports of grief, leaped about like fish when they are laid on red hot coals. So she had her dead baby screaming and hollering, jumping up and down like any mama would do. Then she uttered a seer, especially when she found out she saw the scorpion bites, and then she found out, damn, this was Seth who did this. She really lost her mind. Then she uttered a series of heartbreaking laments, each of which begin with the words, Horus is bitten, the heir of heavens, the son of Unefer, the child of the gods, he who was holy heir is bitten. For he for whose was once I provided, he who was to avenge his father is bitten. For whom I cared and suffered when he was being fashioned in my womb is bitten. He whom I tended so that I might gaze upon him is bitten. He whose life I prayed for. Wait a minute. What is she praying? What is the force of nature praying for another force of nature life for? What are they even doing praying? Polite. The rest of you, what are they doing praying? Let's get it. This is crazy. Calamity hath overtaken the child, and he hath perished. But he comes back alive. Check this out. Whilst Isis was saying these words and many similar words, her sister Nephthys, who had been weeping bitterly for her nephew Horus, as she wandered about amongst the swamps, swamps is in the afterlife, came into company with the scorpion goddess Sekhet and advised Isis to pray to heaven for help. Wait a minute. They're in the afterlife, but they praying to heaven? Wait a minute. She asking the Scorpion King, or the Scorpion King advised Isis to pray to heaven for help. Ain't this some shit? Let's keep going. Pray that the sailors in the boat of Ra may cease from rowing, for the boat cannot travel onward with Horus lies dead, because he's supposed to be the heir to the throne. Then Isis cried out to the heavens, and her voice reached the boat of millions of years, and the disk ceased to move onward and came to a standstill. From the boat, Thoth descended. You know what descended mean? From the boat, Thoth descended, being equipped with words of power and spells of all kinds, and bearing with him the great commandment of Ma Keru, the word, which was the word, whose commands were performed instantly and completely by every god, spirit, fiend, human being, and everything animated and inanimate in heaven, earth, and the other world. Then he came to Isis and told her that no harm could possibly have happened to Horus, for he was under the protection of the boat of Ra. But his words failed to comfort Isis. And though she acknowledged the greatness of his design, she complained that they savored of delay. This is the good, she asked. She said, what is the good, she asked, of thy spells, and incantations, and magical formulas, and the great command of Makeru, if Horus is to perish by the poison of a scorpion, and to lie here in the arms of death? Evil is his destiny, for it have entailed the deepest misery for him and death. So as we see, family, this is not force of nature. Force of nature don't just sin, give power. This is just bottom of the barrel. Nothing. You ain't seen that yet. Let's keep going. In answer to these words, Thoth, turning to Isis and Nephthys, bade them to fear not, and to have no anxiety about Horus. For, said he, I have come from heaven to heal the child for his mother. Now, he descended from heaven. She prayed to heaven. The solar bark stopped. Thoth came down and descended. Now he on earth. I have came down to heal the child for his mother. He then pointed out that Horus was under the protection as the dweller in the disk, Aten, the great dwarf, the mighty ram, the great hawk, the holy beetle, the hidden body, the divine Bennu, etc., and proceeded to utter the great spell which restored Horus to life. By his words of power, Thoth transferred the fluids of life of Re, and as soon as this came upon the child's body, the poison of the scorpion flowed out of him, and he once more breathed and lived. When this was done, Thoth returned to the boat of Ra, meaning he descended back up into the sky. The gods who formed it crew resumed their rowing, and the disk passed on its way to make its daily journey across the sky. The gods in heaven, who were amazed and uttered cries of terror when they heard of the death of Horus, were made happy once more and sang a song of joy over his recovery. The happiness of Isis in her child restoration to life was very great, for she could again hope that he would avenge his father's murder and occupy his throne. The final word of Thoth comforted her greatly, for he told her that he would take charge of the case of Horus in the judgment hall of Anu, wherein Osiris had been judged, and that as his advocate he would make an accusation which might be brought against Horus to recoil him on him that brought him. Furthermore, he would give Horus power to repulse any attacks which might be made upon him by beings in the high above or friends in the depths below, and would ensure his success to the throne. Wait a minute. Protect him from any evil from that beings in the heights above or friends in the depths below. Okay, let's get it again, family. The Neteru of Kemet, the source is by Tamar Sayuda, and y'all can see she's a professor of Egyptology, the founder, spiritual leader of the Kemetic Orthodox religion. She is also an initiated Mambo priestess of Haitian voodoo under the initiatory name Mambo Chitatan, and has written numerous books and academic papers about both Egypt and Haiti, and is involved in various charitable and other efforts to benefit both countries' people and her own Iroquois ancestors. And let's see what she said in the book of Neteru of Kemet. She says this: the religious system that existed in different forms throughout Kemet history spanned several thousand years, undergoing many changes. At one point, it can even be said to have been monotheistic in nature. However, the majority of Kemet's people, for the majority of Kemet's people, it was understood that there were many gods and goddesses. The Neteru of one city, profession, and clan, as well as greater Neteru, whose celebration were marked by the entire populace. Neteru, or singular Neter, is a Kemetic word translated powers or divinities, much in the same sense of the term used by another indigenous African religious group, the Orisha of the Yoruba nation. Neteru is a word without gender, can stand for either God or goddess, as well as god or goddess. The people of Kemet saw the creative influence of Neter in all things, including them. Now you listen what it said. It says Neteru is a term used by it say Neteru is a word without gender. It can't stand for either god or goddess. Now let me show you why they don't got no gender. Let's get into this, because I'm going to play this video real quick, and we're going to show why.
Voodoo determines and presides over Haitian society. It is always present in a world where everything that happens, be it good or bad, is attributed to the direct intervention of the spirits. Limona Beach is a place of pilgrimage. Preachers from the most distant parts of the country come here to perform Guinea ceremonies and beseech the favor of Azuli, Mother Earth, the goddess of love, who is identified in syncretism with the Virgin Mary. In the shade of the sacred trees, families take turns to perform their ceremonies. They mainly offer food and rum and wait for Azuli to appear for her to take possession of someone's body. In this case, the woman with the red scarf. Azuli likes to flirt and seduces people without distinguishing between sexes. She may enter the body of a man or of a woman, but everybody will immediately recognize her because of her suggestive movements. Each preacher recognizes different beings in this procession. Its syncretic translation would be the Virgin of High Grace, the Black Virgin or the Virgin of Monte Carmelo, and sometimes Saint Philomena, identified in voodoo with the siren who comes out of the sea or out of fresh water. Other participants also go into deep trances. People help them and respect them, as in these movements their souls are outside their bodies. The luas, or spirits, have taken over their bodies in order to express their wishes. During these processions, there are frequent displays of the protection conferred on them by the influence of the deity that dwells inside them. Each lua has different colors, so different colored scarves are used to call them. White Carlin powder is used to attract certain deities and to identify them.
Yo, so as we see, family, these netter, as the information said, right? The netter is a word without gender and can stand for either god or goddess. You understand what I'm saying? So what these are your Orisha or your netter rules. It's the same thing. This ain't no force of nature. These spiritual beings taking over, inhabiting the body of these people. At that point, their souls are outside of their bodies, and the gods are speaking through them and performing through them. Let's keep going. Next slide. This is page 14 for the Netter Rule Kemet. Letting nature decide. Or, let's see. There are many texts describing oracular messages received by both commoners and royalty from the sacred image of a Netter Rule. Let me repeat that again. There are many texts describing oracular messages received by both commoners and royalty from the sacred image of a Netter Rule during these processions. So the Netter Rules would talk, or the Netter would talk. Check this out. In later Kemet, these images were consulted on a regular basis on petitions and legal cases. And I'm going to show that in African cosmology right now, African spirituality right now, they're doing the exact same thing with these statues. I'm going to show that. In later Kemet, these images were consulted on a regular basis on petitions and legal cases, where text says they gave their assent or denied permission, regarding questions put to them. Some archaeologists theorize that these statues were fitted with strings or levers, enabling them to nod and shake their heads. While few images of Netter Rule found to date supports this theory, it is indeed possible, as an explanation offered by the texts themselves. The priest bearing the image felt the correct answer and moved forward or backwards according to what they were told by the netter, not the force of nature. Wind ain't blowing these niggas back and forth. That ain't the wind that's blowing these niggas back and forth. You know what I'm saying? By a netter. Now let's keep going. Excuse my language with the N word, family, for all y'all out there. But nevertheless, you know, sometimes this is serious. You know, things get passionate. I get passionate about it sometimes. It says, let's go. They moved it back and forth according to what they were told by the netter. Either way, sacred images were carried with a number of successful, credited with a number of successful cases, including criminal investigations in which they singled out guilty parties and pardoned the innocent. And in some new kingdom, pharaohs claim to have been validated or directed by Amen himself through constellation of an oracle. So you see what they said. These spirits would actually speak and give their opinion on a situation. It says, either way, sacred images were credited with a number of successful cases, including criminal investigations, in which they singled out the guilty party and pardoned the innocent one. How's a force of nature gonna do that? They're spirits. Let's keep it going. It is generally accepted that most persons had a private altar or alcove in their home dedicated to a netter they deemed important. Either a netter of the family, profession, or city. This is not a force of nature. Let's go. Page 15. Next slide. Oh, this is a question I have for Polite. This is Katie the Serpent Demon. Let me show y'all something real quick. And I asked Kalam, and I had a real problem with Kalam, but I told Kalam, I said, you my brother no matter what, and I left it in the side chat. I said it was cold. You could have asked that question, but you know that question was going to shake you up as well. I asked this, according to ancient Kemet, because check this out. Kedi is an ape-like demon who spits fire and destroys all aspects of the body and spirit by the command of Horus, specifically crimes which offended Ra and Osiris. There are 7 gods, Neters, on the crooked spine of Ketu, in mummified shadow form, who collectively bring great Sekhmet, Sekim, or power to this demon found in the 8th division of the 8th hour of the night of the Dua, right? Ketu spits fire at his victims, devouring their bodies. That's one that's gone. Consuming with flame their shadow, Ba, Ka, Ib, and Rin, aspects of being. Now look at my question. If these aspects of man can indeed be destroyed in the afterlife, then what does this say about E equals MC squared? Light can't be created, or energy can't be created nor destroyed. What does this say about that? If the Ba can be destroyed, the Ka can be destroyed, the Ip can be destroyed, the Ren can be destroyed, these are all the aspects of man according to ancient Kemet. So what does it say about E equals MC squared? That's a question that Kalam want to ask, but brother Kalam, you're going to have to do your own homework on that one too. Because I know it shook your faith up a little bit. Now, what I want to do, dreams, let me go here. Let me pull this out of reading view real quick, family. Dreams were very, very important in ancient Kemet, as we're about to find out right now, family. Very important, right? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm gonna play this video for y'all, put it back on read so I can open it up. Dreams as we'll see, was very important to our ancestors. Today, most so-called African Americans who claim to be spiritual and in tune with self simply brush dreams to the side and have took the position of the pseudoscience community and have taught that it is a normal function of the brain and nothing more, with no spiritual significance at all. But that philosophy and frame of thought is very un-African, as we shall see. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this and we going to get it in.
The sacred forest is home to the spirits of the dead. Passanon is its guardian. No one is allowed to enter the sacred forest without his blessing. Passanon used to be a motor scooter mechanic. One night, 2 leopards appeared to him in a dream with a message. He was to be the new king of the sacred forest. The next day, Passanon went to the current king and guardian and told him of his dream. The king wanted proof, so the 2 of them entered the sacred forest together. As they stood before a huge tree, a wild storm suddenly came up. The tree was knocked over by the winds. 2 weeks later, on July 14th, 1988, the 2 men returned to the same place in the forest. Another storm broke out. They had to lie down on the ground to protect themselves. When the winds died down, the tree was standing again. This was proof enough for the old king. He declared Passanon the new king and guardian of the sacred forest.
As we see, family, as we see, Dreams are not just a function, a normal function of the brain and nothing more, with no spiritual significance at all. That is very un-African. Next slide. This is from the book History of Egypt, Chaldea, Syria, Babylon, and Assyria. Gaston Maspero, page 215. Dreamers carried out the wishes of the gods. Check this out. Of Nut Amen, the successor of the great Pianki, who came down from Gebel Bakal and conquered all Egypt from Sinai to the sea. We read that in the first year of his reign, he one night dreamed a dream wherein he saw two serpents, one on his right, one on the other side, his left. When he woke up, they was gone. Having asked for an interpretation of the dream, he was told that the land of the south is thine, and thou shalt have dominion over the land of the north. The white crown and the red crown shall adorn thy head. The length and breadth of the land shall be given unto thee, and the God Amen, the only God, shall be with thee. The two serpents were the symbol of the goddess Nekbet and Utek, the mistress of the south and north respectively. As the result of his dream, Nut Amen invaded Egypt successfully and brought back much spoils, a portion of which he dedicated to the service of his God Amen. Now, when a Muslim do the same thing over there, dedicated to Allah, everybody got a problem with it. When we did it in the scriptures and then said this was for the Most High, everybody had a problem with it. Let's keep going. Next slide. You can get this from the book A History of Egypt under the Pharaohs, derived entirely from the Monuments, Volume 2. Carl Bruchshit, or Bruch, right? Page 250. On this same note, the inscription further relates as follows. In the first year, which was that of his coronation as king, his majesty had dreamed in the night. There were two serpents, the one on his right hand, the other on his left. When his majesty woke, he did not find them. Then spake his majesty to the interpreter of dreams, why has such things happened to me? Then they explained to him, speaking as follows, the land of Upper Egypt is yours. You shall take possession of Lower Egypt. The double crown shall adorn your head. The land is given to thee in its length and its breadth. Amen, besides whom there is no other God, will be with thee. His majesty held a court sitting on the throne of Horus in this year. When his majesty had come out from the place where he had been staying, as Horus come out of his marsh, then he went forth. And his statue were 100,000 who marched near him. Now we see from this dream, and this is two different books. Y'all can go back and get the sources. We see that these are very, very real to these people. These gods, and the gods that's popping up in their dreams, by the way, are not forces of nature. They're beings. Either an eagle or some type of creature, some type of three-dimensional humanoid. They're always a being. It's never somebody saying the wind came to me in my dream. The waters was speaking to me in my dream. Oh, the element iron was speaking to me in my dream. Carbon 13 was speaking to me in my dream. Carbon 14 and 20. No, brothers and sisters. No. It don't work like that. Let's go. Next slide. 13. This is out of control. The Ba. For the ancient Egyptians, a person possessed many qualities. The most important being, and this is the people, we have to focus on this Ba, because this is real serious. This is the key to understand it all. When you understand the functions of these bonds, Ka, and all, this is the key. You'll understand, wait a minute, these people understood some stuff, or they believed some stuff that was deep. Now listen, for the ancient Egyptian, a person possessed many qualities, the most important being the body, the Ka, or the vital force, the Ba, the immortal spirit, the name, the Ba was the spirit-like, most often depicted as on this object as a human-headed bird, unlike the Ka, which came into being at the time of a person's birth. Keep that in mind, family. Unlike the Ka, which came into being at the time of a person's birth. Now, Horus was said to give up his Ka. How did he have a Ka? Or Osiris was said to give up his ka. How did he have one? Where did he have one? So how was he? Excuse me, family. So how was he doing this? Let's keep going. Unlike the ka, which came into being at the time of a person's birth, the ba appears to have been more important in the afterlife. The ba could travel with the sun bark across the sky on his daily journey, or guess what? Guess what else he could do, family? Or leave the tomb and visit the world of the living, returning each night to rejoin the deceased. The ba often was presented alongside the deceased at his judgment before Osiris. As you can see, you have a primary over here from the 21st dynasty, third intermediate period. And you see the source on the page, Museum of Natural History. Next slide. So we see something going on. Let's get it. And this is Barbara Mertz's work, Temple Tombs and Hieroglyphs, A Popular History of Ancient Egypt, chapter 2, page 80. Let's see what she says. The Egyptians were broad-minded, and the idea of logical exclusiveness never troubled them. You hear that? Logical exclusiveness never troubled them. In the same body of text, the dead king is described as occupying all several afterworlds. He may relatively beautifully become one with the imperishable stars, the pole star which in its latitude never sets. He may become a ba, a human-headed bird that flits from tree to tomb. He may journey to the land of the west or inhabit a lovely paradise called the field of Uru, located in the northeastern heavens, where the grain grew taller than earthly grain, and the dreadful ferryman turn face waited to carry the souls of the just to their reward. In later times, these texts and the magic protection they provided were taken over in altered form by the humbler folks, who had them painted inside their wooden coffins. In this stage, they called the coffin text. Nothing to do with us living people. The New Kingdom period, the texts were written on papyrus scrolls or papyrus scrolls and were changed even more. Today, these later texts are often lumped together under the general name the Book of the Dead, but in ancient times there were several different collections, such as the Book of Coming Forth by Day, referring to the emergence of the soul from the tomb. So when Polite talk about ain't no God, I read the Book of Coming Forth by Day. Do y'all people realize all this about dead people? Y'all talk about we spooky? Give us a break. Next slide. Pharaoh is Neter. Let's see what else in page 80 of the same book. The pyramid texts are often described as religious in nature, yet their primary function was the affirmation of faith or wait a minute. Stop it. The pyramid texts are often described as religious in nature, yet their primary function was not the affirmation of a faith or belief. Was not the affirmation of a faith or belief. Like the pyramids, they were designed to serve the end of survival. The pyramid protected the body of the dead king, and the text assured his soul to continue life as a god, as a ruler, or even as a humbler roar in the boat of Ra. Now, let me tell you what they do, right? Let me tell you what they do. If you can really examine what's going on in this work, check this out. She says this, in nature, yet their primary function was not the affirmation of a faith or a belief. If I bury you and I prepare some stuff for you for a trip, I must believe you got somewhere to go. If I pack you some bags, make you a plate, pack you a lunch, it's because I think you got somewhere to go. So I believe you're going to be on the other side in the solar bark. So we're dealing with belief right there. So when you're dealing with these scholars' work, you have to keep in mind that a lot of these scholars is anti-biblical. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of them are atheists that's paid to do this work. A lot of them are devil and demon worshipers anyway. You get what I'm saying? So they're going to go against the text anyway. So you got to catch that. When they say they didn't believe, but wait a minute. Y'all painting false doors on coffins and putting spells, and that's belief. You're dealing with a belief system. I believe it's gonna work. Keep going. Oh, but anyway, but pay attention to something, family. The pyramid protected the body of the dead king, and the text assures his soul to continue life as a god, as a ruler of gods. So he would be a netter, and he will rule Neterus, or even as a humble rower in the boat of the gods. But life at any cost. In any road. So as we can see, next slide. To survive the Ka needed a body for its external home. The Egyptians believed that the Ka dwelt within either the mummy or the tomb statue. So now it ain't so hard to scratch your head and say, damn, this is why they used to break all the statues of the gods when they used to war with other people. They used to go break their statues and knock their statues down. Because the spirit would have no place to dwell. The god would lose power. Now let's see. The Ka dwelt within either the mummy or the tomb, sometimes called the Ka statue. A spare body needed if the corpse should be destroyed. You see that? The Egyptians called the second element of the soul the Ba, or the animation. It was part of the spirit that was free to leave the tomb and travel about the earth during the day. The Ba was obliged, however, to return to the tomb during perilous hours of darkness. Artisans had several ways of showing the Ba, sometimes as a bird, but most often as a human-headed bird. The Ba came into being only when the Ka and the dead body were united. Without the Ka and a mummy or Ka statue, the Ba could not exist. You understand that? And you see the source. Adapted from Death, Burial, and Afterlife in Ancient Egypt by James F. Romano, the Board of Trustees, Carnegie Institute. And on the side is what you see. You see a picture of a Ka statue. This is what you call a Ka statue, right? And this is what the spirit would dwell in. You get what I'm saying? So people have these all in their houses and all that. It's a show, right? I don't know if y'all familiar with it, family, but it's a show out there. Look it up. It's a show. I saw the show about 3 years ago. It's this man, right? He looked like the dude from Pawn Stars, Hardcore Pawn. And this man, in his show, he collects pieces, old pieces from people of their relatives had died and left behind. And the people complain that these items that their dead relatives left behind were making strange noises, moving, doing stuff like this. So this man will actually go and get this stuff. Look at this show. Look up this. I forget the name of the show. But let's keep going anyway. So we see from far back these Ba statues inhabiting spirits inhabiting these statues. The gods on earth. Chapter 7, page 120. Daily Life of the Egyptian Gods by Dimitri Meeks and Christine Favard Meeks. Now check this out. The creation stories accounted simultaneously for the establishment of the cosmic and social order. Presiding over these inextricably intertwined systems were the creator God and the pharaoh. There was evil in creation, which may have already discussed the sequence of events that induced the creator God to withdraw into the heavens, just like the god Nyame of the Khan, taking the other gods with him. But human beings preserved a memory of the divine presence they had been deprived of, and they would employ a variety of means to recapture it and keep it on earth. Just like when Christ went in Egypt and all the statues of the gods got to rumbling and they fell, boom. What they say? Damn, they say this is the Son of God. So what they try to do? Make a statue to try to harness that power. That ain't gonna happen. You see what I'm saying? Ain't gonna happen. But the human beings preserved a memory of the divine presence they had been deprived of, and they would employ a variety of means to rapture it and keep it here on earth. The departing gods themselves helped them do so by leaving a Horus, the king on earth, to serve as a mediator between themselves and man. What the king did on earth associated mankind by way of cults and rites with the preservation of cosmic order. Cults and rites were enacted in the temple, whose very function and conception were divine and recalled the initial foundations of the world. Rituals were addressed to the images of the gods on earth, statues and sacred animals, which were in their turn linked with the king through though in different ways. So we see what's going on here. Next slide. This is page 125 of the same book, The Gods on Earth. This is what I titled The Gods on Earth. 125, the same book. Let's get it. Listen what it says. For the temple to function, the God it was meant for had actually to take up residence in it. Y'all hear that, family? For the temple to function, the God had to take up residence in it, together with his entourage. The divine community of the temple was incarnated in the statues located in various chapels, and also in the bas reliefs adorning the walls of the buildings. These were objects created by human hands out of inanimate matter. In their original form, then, they could not represent the divinity. They could only do so if the God definitively entered his various material support. The ritual of the opening of the mouth, whose name indicates its function, came into play here. It was performed on all representations of the gods in their temples. They used to lift up the damn tomb or the sarcophagus of these gods, just like we see here on the bottom right hand, and they used to put the thing to their mouth like they're really opening up the mouth for somebody. This is what they did, because they believed the body was still in once the Khan met, it was on, right? It's with the help of various instruments, essentially a carpenter's or sculpture tool adapted to ritual use. The eyes, the nose, and the mouth of the image of the gods were opened, so that essential vital functions could be imparted to them, permitting them to breathe, see, and so forth. The operation consists in bringing the instrument into contact with the relevant part of the body. The rite was enacted by priests impersonating particular divinities on behalf of the king. Ptah takes his chisel to open the mouth of Sokar, and Sokar opens his eyes. Anubis Ades, that's what this is, they opening it with, was then presented. Various animal sacrifices and presentations of offerings followed. This opening ritual was gone through again for the building as a whole, treated a single unit. From then on, the temple, its statues, and its bas reliefs were living, active beings. Thus, the king had created a building that not only testified to the gods' benefactions and power, but could also be used to enact rituals now that the god's vital energy had been embodied in his image. And as y'all can see on the left hand side, see, they knocked this god head off. They said, off with your head. And you know, if they took a god head, that was fear. They hated for their heads to be gone. Ancient Kemet, they did not like their heads to be gone. They feel like you take their head off, that's it. They don't, they feared that like above a whole lot of other stuff. They feared off of their heads. So now, let's see. This is from page 126, same book. Not even these iconic surrogates of the gods could be said to have been a human origin. It was the creator god, because they were spirits. A lot of these gods were what you call semi-spirits, or twice born. Spirits who never manifested here as a physical being on earth, but live in a spiritual world, right? It was the creator God who had made the images that are on earth. By means of instruments he made himself. Thus the gods could enter their bodies made of wood, material, clay, and all other things that grow, in which they took form. Now you see here, the Egyptians, that's why people are so silly. They run around talking about And Kemet, everything was God to them. All in all was God. They saw God in everything. They even saw God inside of clay. That's why they figured he can dwell in it. So they made up these statues. So see, these people got to really do their research on this stuff, man. It says, thus the gods entered their bodies made of wood, material, clay, and all other things that grow, in which they took form. This explains the participation of the patron gods of the crab in the animation ritual. It was likewise because of the creator that representation of the god came to life each time the sun appeared in the morning. When your visible aspect comes to earth, this was addressed to the creator. What is carved becomes flesh. These man-made representations were nevertheless not capable of revealing the whole of the being they embodied. They were at best approximations that a god agreed to inhabit as one of his aspects. So he inhabited as one of his aspects. That's what I'm trying to tell these brothers. No. That God ain't water. They inhabit these aspects. Now let's see. They continue to fulfill their function as long as the temple stood. If for one reason or another it became necessary to rebuild the temple or to even demolish it, the representation of the divinities had to be stripped of their senses, especially the sense of sight, through mutilation of their bodily parts that had been brought to life in the reliefs or statues. Stop the games, family. We talking about now. This is unbelievable. Let's keep going. This is Egyptian Magic, E.A. Wallace Budge, chapter 3, page 56. And you see another broken up God. It has been said above that the name or the emblem or the picture of a god or demon could become an amulet with power to protect him that wore it, and that such powers lasted as long as the substance of which it was made lasted, if the name or emblem or picture was not erased from it. But the Egyptians went a step further than this, and they believed, again, they believed that it was possible to transmit the figure of any man or woman, animal or living creature, the soul of the being which it represented, and its qualities and attributes. The statue of a god in a temple contained the spirit of the god which it represented. And from time immemorial, the people of Egypt believed. I gotta stress that, man, because these people keep talking about y'all Bible believers deal with belief. We all deal with belief, man. We don't. Y'all people is tripping. Believe that every statue and the figure possessed an indwelling spirit. Oh God, I gotta read this last paragraph one more time. The statue of a god in a temple contained the spirit of the god which it represented, and from time immemorial, the people of Egypt believed that every statue and every figure possessed an indwelling spirit, and that's why they will break them up, just like you see right here on the side of my screen. All right. That's why all the statues of their gods fell down and crumbled when Christ went into Kemet, and they seen like, damn, oh yeah, we gotta deal with his God. His God just made our gods, put our gods to shame, right? The Gods of the Egyptians, or Studies in Egyptian Mythology by E.A. Wallace Budge, Volume 1, page 17. Let's see what it says. In the earliest days, every village community in Egypt had its local god, who shared the good or the evil fortune of the community to which he belonged. So these were exclusive gods. A force of nature can't be exclusive, bruh. I can't have a wind and just not give you none. I can't hog the ocean for myself and say you can't have none. Shit, you just drive down the street and go to the other lake or the nearest beach around the corner. So let's get it. In the earliest days, every village in Egypt and the community in Egypt had its local gods, and as I read earlier, they worshipped the netter of their choice. whether it was a family netter, whether it was a netter of a profession or a particular occupation, just like when they used to go out on, or whether when the fishermen would go out on the water, they would pray to the ocean goddess or the ocean god. If they were in brass making, they would pray to the what? God of brass. Or if they were in carpentry, they would pray to the god of carpentry. This is how they would rock it. So let's keep going. Right? It says his emblem or signal, hold on, who shared good and evil in the community to which he belonged. His emblem or symbol was carried out to war and was, of course, present at all great republic gatherings when were discussed. A simple habitation was set apart for him, and its upkeep was provided for out of common funds. As the riches of the people of the village increased, the rank and deity of their god kept pace with them. But his revenues suffered in times of scarcity and defeat and war. His emblem might be even carried off into captivity and burnt or smashed, when of course the spirit which dwelt in his symbol was also destroyed. Understand that, family. We ain't dealing with no forces of nature. We dealing with spirits that control the forces of nature. Let's go. Next slide. This is page 73. The deceased is made netter. Listen what this says. I have become pure. I have become netter. I have become a spirit, a cool. Now, in the above example, it is easy to see that although the word strong or strength, when applied to translate netter or nature, gives a tolerably suitable sense in some of them, it is quite out of place in others. E.g., number 6, where the deceased is made to say that he has acquired the quality of netter in a spirit, in a soul, and is moreover strong. The word renders strong, and you can see the glyphs right here, man. So we not playing with y'all. Keep talking about these forces of nature, man. We're not about to play with you people, man. You people is just misleading the people, are giving them false information unconsciously, or just consciously misleading them. Next slide, man. Got time to play with these clowns. And this is what she told me. Remember when I just went into for all the people out there, I went into ISIS and she picked Horace up and saw the bites on his neck, and you know, she went to his bedside and she saw him all dead. And let's see, these are magic wands, man. They call anthropaic wands. Anthropaic wands. People, look at it up. Anthropaic wands. Right? Let's see what this says. This is a wand from the Middle Kingdom 12th dynasty from Egypt, from the Memphite region. Right? Let's get it. Listen what it says. Protecting our babies. I named it that. Listen what it says. And I named it that for a reason, because when I read this information, you're going to see. Wands such as this were a common feature in burials of the late Middle Kingdom. This one shows signs of wear at the top, suggesting that it was used over a period of time before being placed in the tomb. The wand is decorated on one side with the figures of protective deities, most of whom carry knives to ward off evil spirits. Wait a minute. Why are they carrying knives? Why do they gotta ward off evil spirits? I thought these were just forces of nature. So the wand is gonna ward off the wind from blowing, the sun from shining, floods from happening. Stop the games. The purpose of the wand is revealed by an inscription carved on the back of this one. Let's see what it says. Recitation by the many protectors. We have come that we may extend our protection around the healthy child Menhotep, alive, sound, and healthy, born of the noble woman Sitsobek, alive, sound, and healthy. Wow. Other wands are inscribed on the front with the words protection by day and protection by night. These texts indicate that the wands were used to defend infants against malicious or malign forces, perhaps by scratching a circle in the earth around the area where they slept. Having provided defense against illnesses during life after death, the wands were placed in the tomb to ensure the continued protection of the deceased spirit in its eternal afterlife. You see them. They deal with afterlife. Let's get the next slide. Here we go. Another one for y'all. This at the Brussels Museum of Art and History. Ivory Magical Wand, Middle Kingdom. Ivory magical wands, knives serve to protect women at the moment of childbirth. Their decorations were restricted to the depiction of a series of demons who would magically turn their aggressive instincts against those who would do evil to the mother and child. Both sides of this piece of ivory are decorated in a similar fashion with various demons and deities. A serpent crocodile, a brazier, the god Ata the fighter, the god Aha the fighter, a hippopotamus, a Seth animal, another hippo, a knife, the frog goddess Heket, and a winged griffin. And these are all spiritual beings in the afterlife. Keep going. Now, these magic wands is in reference to this, the birth grid. The Meshkanet birth brick, right? Penn State Museum, y'all can see it right there, right? And you can get the book. The Abydos birth brick is an unfired mud brick, measuring around 36 centimeters in length. Its sides bear beautiful rendered images of gods and demons known from another class of Middle Kingdom magical objects. Decorated ivory wands with iconography associated with the protection of children against threatening forces. These magical images invoked the myth of the defense of the baby sun god Re as he was reborn every day on the eastern horizon. Such wands were meant to transfer divine protection to the human child during birth. And as you can see, you can get this from this book right here on my page, Echoes of Power, The Mirror House of Ancient Wasut by Joseph Wagner. And over here, we're going to start at the far left with the birth brick dating from 1750 to 1700. This magical birth brick was, it probably belonged to Princess Renesneb, right? Renesneb, or another high status woman. And we can see right here, this magical wand, we got Seth, god of confusion, and you can get this from Plate 2, Dynasty of Egypt in the Royal Scottish Museum, Edinburgh. And you can see the magical figures. And next to the lion is another magical figure that they will wear around their necks, the women in Kemet. And you can see the eye of Heru, the eye of Wajet over here. Now let's keep going. So it's no mystery what they were doing. Here we go. The birth brick also shows a scene of a mother and a newborn sitting on the throne, assisted by two figures and flanked by images of the goddess Hathor. And let me tell y'all something too, man. Hathor ain't an Egyptian god, man. That's a Asiatic god. So get it right. A lot of these gods y'all run around talking about, that's Horus, that's Isis, that's this. A lot of these, it's only like one or two gods that's indigenous to ancient Kemet. The rest of these gods was brought in by some Semitic people and Nubian people. Understand this. Ray making Seth or Apep the dweller of the desert, the god of the desert. This is madness, man. Let's go. Assisted by two figures and flanked by the image goddess Hathor depicted atop tree branches, this scene appears to constitute a two-dimensional visual spell to invoke Hathor, as well as to symbolically transfigure the mother into an incarnation of Hathor at the moment of birth. Man, this is crazy. This rich, how she gonna transfer into a force of nature? How she gonna incarnate into a force of nature while giving birth? Is you kidding me, man? Let's go. What she doing is natural, but she's not turning into a force of nature. Stop the games. How you gonna invoke Hathor, right? Symbolically, okay, to turn symbolically transform her. Yeah. This rich iconography suggests the importance of two-dimensional magical imagery which function in combination with spoken magical spells and ritual action during birth. Although the Abydos brick is currently a unique find, it may be an example of a type of object that was once widespread in ancient Egypt towns and cities. The production and decoration of the Meshkinet bricks for expectant mothers may have been an important part of the life of communities such as Wasut during the late Middle Kingdom. Next slide. The Neteru came in again, page 610. Let's get it. Some Neteru were worshipped almost exclusively in private homes. Bes, the dwarf god of happiness, protector of children and pregnant women, and Toret, the hippopotamus goddess of childbirth, who protected the bed and birthing brick of a woman in labor, and several other Neteru of protection and domestic bliss. A majority of homes also kept a shrine to their family ancestors and visited the known tombs of ancestors in order to make offerings to the spirits of their blessed departed kin, who were considered to be as Neteru in the afterworld and demanding of offerings and attention of the living. So these spirits said, y'all better recognize us. Feed me, Seymour. Simple. Let's keep it going.
Yep.
Best ancient Egypt online
source. Got one. They say got one in his crib to be sacrificed for.
That's out of control, man. These brothers out of control, man. You ain't supposed to be sacrificing nothing to nobody. These brothers trying to go to intermediates. Just like Thoth talking about he gonna speak on the behalf of Horus. Get out of here, dude. Let's keep going. Best. Let's see what Best was. We just dealing with this dude. Best. He was particularly protective of women and children and was with the young Horus, protecting him as he matured. Wait a minute. We got a dwarf god protecting Horus as he matured. Let's keep going. As a result, he also became god of childbirth. It was thought that he could scare off any evil spirit lurking around the birthing chambers by dancing, shouting, and shaking his rattle. A force of nature dance, shake the rattle, and shout around somebody's birthing chamber, huh? Stop the games. If a mother was experiencing a difficult childbirth, a statue of Bes was placed by her head, and his assistance was invoked on her behalf. Rather sweetly, Bes remained at the child's side after birth to protect and entertain them. It was said that if a baby laughed or smiled for no reason, it was because Bes was pulling funny faces. You know how if say you got a brother, or say you know somebody, or got somebody in your family, say you just know somebody, whatever the case may be. They just had a newborn baby, right? Then they get killed. The baby, 2 months go past, 3 months. You know, the baby getting older. The baby walking in her little playpen, you know what I'm saying, her little walker or whatever. And the baby just standing there laughing and smiling. The family will look and say, that baby see her daddy. We got this same concept or idea today. Why? Because we understand the spirit stuff is real. Let's keep going. And we'll be like, who that baby talking to? Oh, she talking to her daddy. If the mother was experiencing, Bes would be putting funny faces. Check this out. Bes remained at the child's side after birth to protect and entertain them. By the New Kingdom, he was a regular feature on the illustrations of walls in the Mamasias, birth houses. Bes also drove away the evil spirits who caused accidents and created mischief, such as medieval gargoyles were thought to scare evil spirits away from churches. So now y'all know why they got the churches, the gargoyles on top of the churches, when y'all see that. Many ancient Egyptians placed a statue of Bes near the door of their houses to protect them from mishap. his protection could also be invoked by tattooing his image directly on the body. Performers often had tattoos of Best because of his association with dancing and music. It is also thought that sacred prostitutes may have had a tattoo of Best placed near their pubic area in order to prevent venereal diseases. But it was also possible that the tattoos related to fertility. So we see this ain't nothing y'all want to just play around with, man. It's serious stuff. You gotta explain how force of nature do that. Now, this is by a Khan king. His name is Ramu Kofi. I'm gonna don't knock the message or messenger. Just listen to the message. This real quick. It's about 30 seconds, 14, 15 seconds long, something like that. About 15 seconds long. Let's see what he says about these people. I'm gonna roll this beautiful being footage.
Definitely, everybody, I'm not sure if you are familiar with our brother, but I'm going to go ahead and let him explain. Can you tell everybody about who you are, what you do?
Okay, I'm a priest of Airway Vodou. I'm a king, chief in the Ashanti Akan area, and I'm also a priest of the Akan tradition. So I have two disciplines, Ewe Vodou and Akan, which are very similar. They're basically Vodou. I was trained in Ghana. I lived in Ghana for the past 5 years. And I have a shrine in Togo. And so I've been training both intensely, full-time, literally, both in Ghana and Togo for the past 5 years. I'm here in the United States now. We're here training priests and teaching what I've learned from the Necheru, who are the same spirits as the Orisha, the Abosom, and the Vodou. And
now, family, do y'all hear what this brother said? So now we see, as this brother said, that he been dealing with the Neteru, who are the Orisha, who are the Abosom. Let's keep it going. Next slide. So, pseudo in the community. I love this brother Smash Rockwell, but I got to straighten you out, King. I got to straighten you out. The brother did a lecture called The Magi Archers Was Kemet a Slave State. And in this lecture, he presented these reliefs from the tomb of Neket. And he was saying that, look, wait a minute, let's go back. He was saying that, look, this is redistribution of wealth. All this food can possibly be for one person or two people, whatever the case. He said, look, they put in a thing. Look, they stomping the grapes. Look, he was going all in. And I said to myself, is that crowd he teaching in front of that unaware of what he's showing them? What you have here, I'm going to play the video and then I'm going to go into the information. Listen what this guy is saying, then watch how I break it down and show these brothers don't know nothing about what they be talking about. They just sound good, and I got respect for that brother. I've talked to him on the phone before, through my brother. He's a good brother, but I just gotta set the record straight. Let's play this. Listen what this brother do.
So also in the tomb of Neket, just to show how festive these things were. This portrait right here, I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's often duplicated when it's in a procession tribute scene as well. And that's weird to me because I can't figure out why they back here sniffing these flowers though. You see, they playing music, they back here sniffing lotus flowers, and they give. I'm just telling you the real, and they giving tribute. You know, it was a festive event. Let's just say that it wasn't nothing forced. No one was forced to participate in this. You see what I'm saying? Now, we see hunting scenes. I'm showing y'all the democratic control of the means of production so we can beat it home. We see them cooking chickens. We see them making wine and stomping the grapes. You see what I mean? I mean, first they picking the grapes. They packing them in, stomping the grapes. This is a democratic process to bring food back to the collective in Kemet. You know what I'm saying? I'm just showing you it over and over, but I want to get to some slides.
Sorry, Brother Jonathan, but I got to clear that up, King. That's got nothing to do with bringing no collection food for the collective of Kemet. Nothing at all. Let's get to it. Either Brother Jonathan is lying on purpose or doesn't really study ancient Kemet like we think he does. I'd rather think the latter. So I'd rather not think the brother lying on purpose. Let's see. The tomb sculptures of the Pyramid Age shows how completely the dead was supposed to enjoy all the possessions of this life in the future world. Every farm was to bring its produce. All the servants and animals of the household are shown. The game, the dances, the hunting, and the fishing. Yeah, it is a festive event. Were all to be enjoyed in the future and were portrayed on the walls of the tomb chapels for the spirit to take part in them. That's page 24. The book is on the next slide. Neket was a scribe and priest of Amun, probably during the reign of Tutmosis IV, during the 18th dynasty. This funerary scene had nothing to do with redistribution of goods. The deceased Neket and his wife are in the field of reeds in the afterlife. The deceased enjoyed all the pleasures in the afterlife as he or she did when they were alive on earth, and their cows will be fed forever. So what you have here is them bringing enough food for them to be fed forever. And you have scenes with him and his brother here, because they was big on family, as you're gonna see in the next slide, and they were it was thought that they would live the life or lavish lives in the afterworld as they had lived on earth, or as they had imagined them living it on earth, if they can afford to pay for it. The tomb. Next slide. Oh, tomb 55. Look, damn, he's right. Next slide. This the same information, the same tomb. Now, the same event. Here's the lotus flower. Here's the music. This is what he's talking about. Okay, now check this out. If y'all see here, this is a Kador. We already understand what Kadors are meant for, right? We understood that. For the spirit to go from the physical realm to the spiritual realm. Back and forth eating of these foods, draining the vital energy out of it. Eating these foods. So this is what you see in the depiction of the afterlife. Every time we see this, know it has nothing to do with living people. Understand that. Let's see, Ancient Egypt in the East, and that's the name of the book, page 28. In comparison with the Osirian heavens, heaven was very homely. The dead were promised that he should eat at his desire, remember what he had forgotten, have sandals for his feet, and repel the burglars and early thieves. He should have a house and a pool and an orchid, as you can find on the papyri of Neket. You see the pool, you see the orchid, and that's on the papyri scroll. Excuse me. and all his household and children and brothers, fathers, mothers, wives, concubines, slaves, and all his establishment, everything belonging to a man. To this end,
Hey, Jesus, you chopping up, man. You gonna have to probably go back when you had Jonathan in there, cause I just inboxed and they see if you was chopping and you've been chopping up. You gonna have to go back to the start of Jonathan so we can get that information, brother. I don't mean to have you to start over, but
no,
you
that's
chopping
cool,
up.
King. That's cool. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you clearly now.
Okay, perfect. Now, the brother Jonathan Smash Rockwell did this presentation, Magi Archers, with Kim in the Slave State, and in this presentation he presented release from the tomb of Nekhet, and we're saying that this was talking about redistribution of wealth, because he couldn't understand how one king can have so much food. He didn't understand this was not even a king. He was a scribe. So if you go listen to this presentation, he will be saying all that food ain't for one pharaoh. But he don't understand it. Can you still hear me clearly?
Yeah, I hear you clear. I hear you clear, brother.
So let's get to the video one more time so we can play that for the brother.
So also in the tomb of Naked, just to show how festive these things were. This portrait right here, I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's often duplicated when it's in a procession tribute scene as well. And that's weird to me because I can't figure out why they back here sniffing these flowers though. You see, they playing music, they back here sniffing lotus flowers, and they give. I'm just telling you real, and they giving tribute. You know, it was a festive event. Let's just say that it wasn't nothing forced. No one was forced to participate in this. You see what I'm saying? Now, we see hunting scenes. I'm showing y'all the democratic control of the means of production so we can beat it home. We see them cooking chickens. We see them making wine and stomping the grapes. You see what I mean? I mean, first they picking the grapes, they packing them in, stomping the grapes. This is a democratic process to bring food back to the collective in Kemet. You know what I'm saying? I'm just showing you it over and over, but I want to get to some slides.
Okay, family, was that clear? Did that come in clear?
Yeah.
Okay, no sweat. Beautiful. Now, either Brother Jonathan is lying on purpose or doesn't really study ancient Kemet like we think he does. I'd rather think the latter. I don't think the brother's lying. I just think he don't understand what he's looking at. So, in the video, he mentioned here is them picking the grapes, then stomping the grapes, then this is a process to bring food to the collective of Kemet. No, brother. This is a process to bring food to the Ka, or the dead in the afterlife. And all this would become alive. As we read when they was inscribed in the tomb walls and the formulas was read over, they will become living. So this is how the deceased will live in the afterlife as he lived on earth. Let's get it from the page of ancient Egypt in the east. The tomb, page 24. The tomb sculpture of the pyramid age show how completely the dead was supposed to enjoy all the processions of this life in the future world. Every farm was to bring its produce. All the servants and animals of the household are shown.
You back chopping up again.
Okay, tell me, can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, go ahead. You clear now.
Okay. Every farm was to bring.
You still choppy. You chopping a little.
Wow, how is that? Thanks, LaRon, man. Let me try to do it this way. Now. How about now? Am I choppy?
Let me hear. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks, LaRon. And every time I'm choppy, just say it out for me, King. I appreciate it. So now we see that Brother Jonathan is misinformed, because we see over here the scene that he's bringing out has nothing to do with redistribution of wealth. This has everything to do with a dead scribe. He's a dead scribe, and he was not a pharaoh. He was a scribe. So Jonathan made that other error in the video. Now let's see the tomb. This was the tomb of the sculpture of the pyramid age show how completely the dead was supposed to enjoy all the possessions of this life in the future world or the afterlife. Every farm was to bring its produce. All the servants and animals of the household are shown. The game, the dances, the hunting, and the fishing were all to be enjoyed in the future and were portrayed on the walls of the tomb chapels for the spirit to take part in them. Page 24, that's from. Now I wrote down here, Neket was a scribe, a priest of Amun, probably during the reign of Tutmosis IV, during the 18th dynasty. This funerary scene had nothing to do with the redistribution of wealth. The deceased king Neket and his wife are in the field of reeds in the afterlife. The deceased enjoyed all the pleasures in the afterlife as he or she did when they were alive on earth, and their cows would be fed forever. Tomb TT52. Brother John like, damn, he's right. Let's keep going. And he also brought out this. As we said, family, whenever y'all see this, this is a Kador. This is the same scene he was talking about. This is a Kador. This was for the spirit to transverse from the physical world to the spiritual world, back and forth, eating the food offers and what have you.
Yeah, you keep going in and out. You keep going.
Okay, let me try to close my last page.
You keep going in and out. If you look at your look at your green bar, you can tell it's going in and out. Because you're gonna see it's gonna be half. Yeah, your mic when you talk.
Right, I see it now. Okay, let me read this. In comparison with the Osiris, heaven was very homely. The dead were promised that he should eat at his desire. Remember what he had forgotten. I see it too, Leron. Have sandals for his feet and repel the burglars.
Yeah, it's definitely going in and out.
Yeah, I see it too. Repel the burglars and early thieves. Let me try. Okay, we still. Let me.
Damn, man, this is the good part too, man, and this thing going in and out.
You hear me? Can I be heard?
Yeah, what kind of mic you using?
I'm using.
Yeah, I hear you clearly now.
My computer. Okay. He should have a house and a pool and a orchid. And if y'all look on the papyrus of Neket, the papyrus, you will see his pool and his orchid that he has in the afterlife. This had nothing to do with distribution of the wealth. Nothing to do with it. And all his household and children and brethren, father, mothers, wives, concubines, and slaves, and all his establishments. Everything belonging to a man. Right? So I just keep watching my mic. Because I don't want to, to this end, 400 figures of serfs to cultivate the land were supplied in the tomb, with elaborate instructions inscribed on each as to their duties. So, we can see this had nothing to do with them redistributing wealth. It had everything to do with dying, the scenes being painted on there. You had the farmer scenes, you had them plowing, because these were the duties they would be assigned in the afterlife. It had nothing to do with people coming and scribe taking count of what they bringing in to the state, or nothing of that. It was talking about dead folks. Let's get this understood. Next slide. Next slide. Let's see. This is from E.A. Wallace Budge. This on this side, and this part is from this book. Let's go to E.A. Wallace Budge book first, page 32. I'm gonna start on my screen just in case I'm not speaking well and people can't hear me. It said, it has already been said that the primitive Egyptians, though believing, there they go to belief again, but I thought only as Bible believers dealt with belief. Though believing that their gods possessed powers superior to their own, regarded them as beings who were liable to grow old and die. And that's that decay that Laron was talking about on his show. And were moved to love and to hate, and to take pleasure in meat and drink like man. They were even supposed to intermarry. Let me say that again, family. They were even supposed to intermarry with human beings and to have the power of begetting offsprings like the sons of God as recorded in the book of Genesis. Ain't that something? Let's see. Those ideas were common. These ideas were common in all periods of Egyptian history. And it is clear that the Egyptians never wholly freed themselves from them. There is, in fact, abundant proof that even in the times when monotheism had developed in a remarkable degree, they clung to them with the intensity which is surprising. Let's go to this. So we see they had a belief system. They believed that these gods can sleep with women and incarnate, and they can be God, just like the gods, just like in the book of Genesis. And they believed them. This idea was common. So when y'all people talking about we crazy, y'all better look at y'all own information, because evidently y'all don't read it. Let's see. Encyclopedia of African Religion. Page 20. I'm gonna start right here. There has been a tendency for Westerners to speak. I'm gonna go back so I can see if my mic messing up, so I can fix that if it happens. There has been a tendency for Westerners to believe. There has been a tendency for Westerners to speak of Egyptian religion and African religion as if these were two separate entities. What this creates is a false dichotomy on the African continent. So what they saying is, brother, it's the same thing. Stop trying to separate it. What this creates is a false dichotomy on the African continent. Right? It says where Egypt is divorced from the rest of Africa, or to put it in another way, Kemet is divorced from Nubia, as if there is neither contiguity nor continuity, right? What is clear from many of the authors also who wrote entries for this encyclopedia is that the Egyptian religion was African religion. One cannot isolate Egypt from Africa any more than one can isolate Christian Rome from the Christian Britons. Two different nations that practice the same religion with different accents and inclinations can be found on every continent. Egypt, or Kemet as it was called in the ancient times, is an African nation in the sense that the continental memory and culture and cultural products are similar to those found throughout the continent today. Check this out. Let's go over here to page 22. In the belief of the Dinka people of Sudan, Ewell was the founder of the priesthood known as the Spirit Master. He was the son of a water spirit and a human mother. So we see this in the Bible. We see this in Kemet. We see this in Africa today. Spirits, or what you would call water spirits, having sex with women, producing kids. He was the son of a water spirit and a human mother. During his childbirth, Ewell's mother died, and he went to live with his father in a river. When he became a man, he returned to his mother's village with a beautiful multicolored ox he called by the name Lungar. When the people saw him, they called him Ewell Lungar. Thus there entered into the cosmology of the Dinka people one of their most important figures. Ewell Lungar is representative of so many values, attitudes, and dispositions in Dinka philosophy that one could almost say that the Dinka measured other humans by the characteristics of Ewell Lungar. First of all, his narrative is epic and shows that he had arisen from a special condition of being from the spiritual and the human side. Second, he overcame all conditions of differences and established himself as a leader of his people. The story is told that Ewell Lungar performed many mighty deeds at his mother's village. So we see that he was half human, half spirit. First of all, his narrative is epic, show that he had arisen from a special condition of being, from the spiritual and from the human side. Let's keep going, family. So we see that what the Bible is talking about, you can find it, the other cultures is talking about too, so we're not going crazy. The Bible lays this all out, but you people don't know it because y'all hate the Bible so much. Y'all don't take time to really study or ask us, and y'all don't even take time to study y'all own stuff. What are y'all? Start with y'all own stuff and then come talk to us about the Bible. The Wandering Spirit. This is from the book of The Wisdom of the Egyptians by Brian Brown. Page 235 to 236. The Wandering Spirit. Let me see if I can read it from here so I won't. Okay. Let's go. I can read it from here. It say, but prehistoric logic did not stop here. So much premise it extended its sole theory to all animate beings and even to inanimate things. Where, for example, did the soul of man go after death? Their bodies decayed, so it was only reasonable to suppose that they cast about them for other corporal medias. Corporal media means the physical world, right? Failing their ability to enter the body of a newborn infant. Wait a minute. So they trying to enter bodies, failing their ability to enter the body of a newborn infant, they would take up their quarters in a tree, a rock, and that's why I asked the brother Consul about 4 months ago, did he know anything about perching spirits? These spirits was believed to reside in trees, and they would jump down on people. Let's go. It says, failing their ability to enter the body of a newborn infant, they would take up their quarters in a tree, a rock, or any substantial natural object. That's why they become, they don't become force of nature. They inhabit these force of natures. They would take up their quarters in a tree, or rock, or any substantial natural object, and the terrified savage could hear their voices crying down the wind and whispering through leaves of the forest, possibly clamoring or entreating for that food and shelter which they could not obtain in their disembodied conditions. And we know in the Khan, they have a tree that they say they would not build. Nobody builds nothing by this tree because the tree makes so much noise. They believe this tree is inhabited by so many spirits that when this tree at night, this tree makes so much noise, it shakes the fucking community. Nobody will build around this tree. This is a fact. And what would they do? They will go offer to the trees because they believe the trees would give them water and stuff like that. They would even put water on by the trees so the spirits that's in the trees can drink. Stop the games. Let's go. And terrifying sound of the forest wind, crying down the wind and whispering through the leaves of the forest. In their disembodied conditions, they couldn't obtain it. All nature then became animated to early man. See, you see that? All nature then we see became animated to early man. Why? Because these spirits was in them. And not less so to the early Egyptians than to others. But his haunting life had made prehistoric man exceptionally cunning and resourceful. And we're going to continue to the next slide. All right? And it will soon occur to him in what manner we do not presume to say, at the point greatly requires elucidation, that we might possibly make use of wanderings and masterless spirits as he knew were close to his call. Go back to the screen so I can read it from the screen. Right? Okay, we have the screen so I can read it from the screen. In this desire, it appears to me, if the statement be not a platitude, we have one of the origins of the magic of wonder, and certainly the origin of spiritism. Trading upon the wish of the disembodied spirit to materialize, prehistoric man will construct a fetish either in the human shape or in that of an animal, or in any weird presentment that squared with his idea of spiritual existence. He usually made it of no great dimensions, as he did not believe that the alter ego or soul was of any great size. By threats or coaxing, he prevailed upon the wandering spirit. So he would threaten the spirit, just like they would threaten the gods. You can see that in the Greek shit. They would threaten the gods all the time. And Kemet too, they would threaten the gods to do what they want. Now, by threatening coaxing the wandering spirit, whom he received as, like all the dead, cold, hungry, and homeless, to enter the little image which dully became its corporal abode, where its lips were poisonally smeared with the blood of animals slain in the chase, and where it was carefully attended. In return, it was expected, by dint of its supernatural knowledge, that's outside of nature, that's supernatural knowledge, that the soul contained in the fetish should assist its master or conjurer in every possible way. My God. Next slide. Let's continue. So we see, family, that this is it's getting real out of hand. I'm on 95. Let's go. Let's see. We got, this is from the book, The Magical Text of Papyrus, the Linear Papyrus, translation, introduction to the spell by J.F. Borgholtz. Now, let's see what this spell. Now, they say Horus wasn't human. As I proved before, he got so many human aspects. He been bit, he been burnt, he died. Isis cried to the heavens. Thoth came out of the boat and descended. Her Nephis, her sister, told, or the snake goddess told her to pray to the gods of heaven. And you know, so let's just get this. Let's get this spell. Spell 31. Content, verse 12. Horus again as a savior. Now listen to this, people. This gonna bug y'all out. Horus as a savior. Horus comes to the cries of an ancient husband, of an anxious husband, whose wife is giving birth and things are not well. That scene vividly reminds me of one familiar situation described in the Westcar Papyrus, where Khnum and the four goddesses found the priest Rawosser in distress for his wife Rehedundedet. Here, the advice is given to obtain an amulet to help from the goddess Hathor, and Deandra. So we see these gods hearing the cries of people and coming to their aid. Forces of nature, right? Let's keep reading. Another spell, Lavalva. Listen what it said. I am Horus. I had come down from the desert, being thirsty. On a shouting I heard, or found somebody calling. So Horus came down from the desert thirsty. He wants some water, like the rest of the spirits, who need their cars fed. And who need waters brought to their cars. He say, I came down from the desert. I was thirsty in a motherfucker. I heard somebody screaming and hollering, who stood weeping. His wife was near her time. I made the calling one stop, his weeping. The woman had shouted to the man for a dwarf statue of clay. Y'all remember, that's best being placed near her head to ease the child pain. The woman had called for, shouted to the man for a dwarf statue of clay. Come, let somebody betake himself to Hathor, mistress of Deandra, in order that there may be brought to you her amulet of health, and that she may cause to give birth, the one who is to give birth. This spell is to be recited over leaves of such and such and be placed on such and such. So we see Horus is coming from a desert. He's thirsty in the same way that we read in the first one. Khonsu and the four goddesses found the priest Rawosser in distress and for his wife, and they came on in. Next slide. Egyptian gods, Wallace Budge, the gods of Egypt, divine origin of the king. Egyptians were a nation of men who were wholly given up to the worship of beasts and the cult of the dead. Page 3. We see they was fascinated with this stuff. The Egyptians, however, acted in a perfect logically manner. For they believed, oh God, they go to belief again. So they believing? They dealing with belief? Couldn't be. For they believed that they were a divine nation, and that they were ruled by kings who were themselves gods incarnated. The earliest kings, they assert, were actually gods who did not disdain to live upon earth and to go about up and down through it and to mingle with man. What did they do in the scriptures, King? What did the father gods do? Didn't they mingle with man in the scriptures? They came down, mingle with man. It says these gods, they did not disdain to live upon earth. That means they was cool with it. They wasn't rejective of the idea and go about up and down and mingling with man. Page 3, let's keep going. When the physical or natural body of a king died, the divine portion of his being, i.e. the spiritual body, returned to its original abodes with the gods, and it was duly worshipped by man upon earth as a god and with the gods. He became Netter, like you see Osiris over here. Next slide, man. Anybody about to keep playing with y'all? Destruction of the gods of ancient Egypt, or studying Egyptian mythology, by E.A. Wallace Bush. And remember, I brought out the information that these gods, they listen to what these gods were saying. Check this out. Whatever happens in nature was attributed by them to that operate on a large number of spiritual beings. The life of whom was identical with the life of the great natural elements, and the existence of whom terminated with the destruction of the object which they were supposed to animate. You hear that? I'm gonna read that one more time. Whatever happened in nature was attributed. I'm gonna go to the thing so you know I hear this. Whatever happened in nature was attributed by them to the operation of a large number of spiritual beings. So the spiritual beings was not nature. What happened in nature was attributed to them. Let's keep going. The life of whom was identical with the life of the great natural elements. So the life of whom was identical with the life of the great elements, and the existence of whom terminated with the destruction of the object which they were supposed to animate. Understand that? Such spirits, although invisible to the mental eye, were very real creatures in their minds, and to them they attributed all the passions which belong to man, and all his faculties and powers also. Everything in nature was inhabited by a spirit, and it was thought possible to endow a representation or model, right, or model or figure of any object with a spirit or soul, provided a name was given to it. This spirit or soul lived in the drawing or figure until the object which it emanated was broken or destroyed. Now you see why the native Indians didn't like pictures of themselves being painted. When James Adair went over there and tried to paint them, they didn't want it. But he had to convince them that no, he had to convince them like, no, it's all right. Y'all just superstitious. Now you see why we weren't supposed to make images of anything on heaven or earth and bow down to it. But let's play this video. Let's see what's going on. Let's see how they talking to these gods living in these images. And the image is going to be destroyed. Just like hold on, family. I think I just messed up y'all beat. No, there's no sound to it. There's no sound at all. No sound at all. Look at what he doing. is the sound is like a music, a spooky music. But so I ain't even, you know what I'm saying? I just left the sound out. Now check him out, family. This is how they get their messages. Look, you see the God, the figure of the God. Look, watch he talk to it. The God talk. Look, he say nothing. Look, check this out. I'm gonna let the God whisper in his ear. Mm-hmm. He's saying go that way, go this way. Look, he listening to what the God's saying. He said, okay. Family, this is the same thing. And after that, I gotta read this one more time from this. Such spirits, although invisible to the mental eye, were very real creatures in the minds of the Egyptians. And to them, they were attributes. They attributed all the passions which belong to a man, and all his facility of faculties and powers also. Everything in nature was inhabited by a spirit, and it was thought possible to endow a representation or model or figure of any object with a spirit or soul, provided a name was given to it. This spirit or soul lived in the drawing or figure until the object which it animated was broken or destroyed. Family, understand this. Next slide. We got no time to play with these people, man. Oh my God, this gonna blow your mind. We don't deal with spookism. Whoa. So let me tell y'all something. We don't deal with spookism. We know this stuff is very real. There's nothing spooky about it. Simple. What you're about to witness may be disturbing to some, but the truth must be brought forward. People always ask for proof of a God or an afterlife. They say to the Africans, spirit is wind. God is spirit, so God is wind. This in fact couldn't be further from the truth, as I have already shown. To the Africans, there were spirits who controlled the wind, but was not necessarily wind itself. Now I'm about to play this. Look at this. Let this beautiful being for this role.
Hold on, do y'all see that on the screen? Because I ain't saying nothing. Is y'all saying something?
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't see that on your screen.
Can you see it now? Click my screen, King.
Yeah, I'm clicking on it now. The only thing I see is your face.
You see my face?
Yeah, profile picture.
Hold on.
But I'm on my phone though. That's the only thing about it. So it could be tripping. So if somebody else on the panel could see it, I don't know.
Can anybody else see my screen? Anybody on the panel can see my screen? Because I'm presenting it. I'm definitely presenting it. Okay, well, it's just some bodies. You can hear the footage, so just listen to the audio around. Let me know if you can.
Yeah, I hear it.
Rezu always knocks on the morgue door before he enters. The first time he went in unannounced, he found the room in total chaos. There were spirits flying around everywhere, separated from their recently deceased bodies. Since then, he gives them fair warning.
Okay. You heard that, Leron?
Yeah, I heard it. I heard
it. Okay, what I was showing was this is a morgue worker in Africa. He's a morgue worker, and he works in a morgue. And his face, he had the sickest look on his face. And these bodies were just piled up and threw it in there like crazy. And he has to knock on a door before he opens the door to the rooms. Because he said last time he went there, the room was in chaos because spirits was flying around all in there. So he knocks on the door to give them fair warning. This stuff is real, Jack. These ain't forces of nature. Let's keep going. Next slide. Oh, got him again. Got to get him. You got to see it. Tell me you don't see it. This is Brother Ben. Anybody know Brother Black Panther Ben? From Team Osiris. Listen what this brother says. He says, and I'm going to play the video and then I'm going to show and prove that this brother don't know what he talking about. I'm about to show and prove real easy. Play this video. Okay.
He is divine knowledge. Now this guy is responsible for healing. How many people know what orishas are? Okay, so if you know what a Neteri Kemet is, you know what an orisha is in Nigeria. Knowledge. Now this guy is responsible for healing. How many people know what orishas are? Okay, so if you know what a Neteri Kemet is, you know what an orisha is in Nigeria. They're divine principles and divine spirits made to tell a story. So that's the power of an African story right there. They gave it a name. Osai. It all healing starts with Osai. Now, Osai is the divine orisha of plants in European tradition.
Now, y'all all heard what that brother with his own mouth say. How many of y'all know what a Orisha is? Then he said, if you know what a Neteri is in Kemet, then you know what a Orisha is. I've been telling brothers for this forever. It's the same thing. Now let's get to this book I got right here. It's called The Religion of the Yorubas. Being an account of the religious belief and practices of the Yoruba people in southern Nigeria, especially in relation to the religion of ancient Egypt, by the then archaic J. Olumide Lucas. He is a matter of fact, he is a priest. He is a high priest, the guy who wrote this book. He is a high priest. So let's see what he says in this book. Let's see what he shows. As you can see, here are survivals, a selection of Yoruba deities in whose form ancient Egyptian deities survive in Yoruba land or whose names are derived from ancient Egyptian words. And I must have to mention, family, this is a lot of our people that's dealing with this stuff over there. They over there dealing with this stuff. And that's why we still in this madness. Now let's see. As you can see here, you have Orisa Beku derived from Horus Baku. You have them all. He gives you many parallels. And he's showing you how they survive. Let's slide. Next slide. Okay. Brother Ben got to hit you again. Listen what this brother says, and it's probably going to be, I got like a few slides left, and then we're going to end this presentation. Listen what the brother Ben said. I'm going to play this, and then we're going to go in. Because we got to straighten this brother out. These brothers be tripping.
Now, I'm going to dispel this myth right now. Because some of your less conscious friends, they're going to say, oh, you're going to see a witch doctor. You don't want to see the witches and the warlocks. Ain't no damn witches in Africa. Ain't no warlocks in Africa. Them ain't African words. Go research the etymology of the words. The link ain't gonna be in Africa. It's gonna be some Latin, Greek, French word. We ain't got no witches and no damn warlocks. We are Orishas and Netas, and I'll even let go medicine men. We ain't got no damn witches and warlocks in Africa. They keep that shit.
Is that child witches do exist.
Lorsque cette loi-là va exister, l'un des problèmes auxquels on pourrait être confronté, c'est que ce que vous ne savez pas, c'est que je l'ai dit au début de cette émission, les enfants sont accusés à tort ou à raison. Toutes les lois naturelles ne sont pas que physiques.
What I'm gonna do, family, since the brother LaRon cannot see the screen, what I'm actually gonna do for
Nah, I see it, man. I see
you
it.
can see it? Okay.
This is sounding really, really bad.
Intellectuel, il y a des sorciers. Chez le commerçant, il y a des sorciers. Lorsque cette loi-là va exister, l'un des problèmes auxquels on pourrait être confronté, c'est que ce que vous ne savez pas, c'est que je l'ai dit au début de cette émission, les enfants sont accusés à tort ou à raison. Toutes les lois naturelles ne sont pas que physiques. L'homme est un être physique, un être spirituel. Et la question de sorcellerie, c'est une question hautement spirituelle. Donc, à côté de l'aspect physique, il y a l'aspect spirituel qui accompagne tous nos compatriotes dans ce qu'ils font. C'est pourquoi aujourd'hui, chez les enfants, il y a des sorciers, chez les jeunes, il y a des sorciers, chez les adultes, il y a des sorciers, chez les paysans, il y a des sorciers, chez les intellectuels, il y a des sorciers, chez le commerçant, il y a des sorciers, chez le politicien, il y a des sorciers.
Now, as we see, family, child witches, they would even kill the child if the child was on it. They would even kill the child if it wouldn't stop. They would kill the child if it would not stop. So let me get to the next slide. See, we only got a couple, and then I'm done. All right, we got a couple, and then I'm done. So, here we go. You see the source from all type of different brothers of the Nigerian state. It's Africans. Just let's put it there. Y'all rewind the video. I'm not about to read the whole source. Y'all rewind the video and get the source and then go get the book where I just got this information from. God is real to Africans. Africans do not perceive God as an abstract entity whose existence is in the mind. He is, you remember how they say it's all in the mind? It's you in your mind. Yeah, okay. He is seen and perceived as a real personal entity whose help is sought in times of trouble and who is believed, they're going to believe again, to be the protector of the people. The various names given to God in Africa attest to this. The fact that God is real to Africans is enshrined in the meaning of the name they call him. The Yoruba of Nigeria call God Oludumare or Idumare, meaning the king or chief eunuch who holds the scepter, wields authority, and has the quality which is superlative in worth. And he is at the same time permanent, unchanging, and reliable. Another Yoruba name for God is Oluran, meaning the owner of heaven or the Lord of heaven, and showing God as the author of all living things. both visible and invisible. That's page 212. Next source. We have already seen that the dynastic Egypt and their predecessors conceived the existence of spirits hostile toward man, of spirits beneficial toward man, and of spirits which were wholly occupied with carrying out the various operations of nature. They were not nature themselves. They were wholly occupied with carrying out the various operations of nature. And we must now consider the manner and forms in which they became visible to man. The commonest form in which a spirit was believed to make itself visible to man was that of some beast or bird or fish or reptile, and at a very early period, adorations in one form or another of the so-called inferior animals was high nigh universal in Egypt, as well as inanimate objects were not considered by the inhabitants of the Nile Valley to be greatly removed from themselves in intelligence. Primitive man saw nothing ridiculous in attributing speech to inanimate objects and animals. So you know how they say, y'all niggas stupid. A talking snake, a talking donkey. What? That Bible bullshit. Listen. Primitive man saw nothing ridiculous in attributing speech to inanimate objects and animals, which were supposed to think and reason and act like human beings. And the religious literature of many of the most ancient nations contains numerous proofs of this fact, brother. Gods of Ancient Egypt, volume 1, page 18. Let's jump over to here, to Encyclopedia Backward Religion. In the Akan tradition, Abosum, lesser gods, singular, Abosum, are the children of the messenger Nyame. Similar function to the Yoruba Orisha and the Vudan Loa, which all are netters, or netterus. The Abosum are spiritual forces evincing and operating throughout the Akan universe, assisting Nyame in the task of managing creation. Let me jump back over here. Managing creation, namely humanity. They are found throughout Ghana and are a major part of the Akan cosmology. Abosum may be male or female. As I showed the video earlier, the goddess didn't discriminate. She was a woman, the lady with the red scarf, twerking on the other woman because the goddess was in her and didn't discriminate whether male or female, didn't care. Abosum may be male or female or have the ability to embody both. Although the Abosum often embody various manifestations of nature, i.e. wind, bodies of water, mountains, hills, and animals, etc. These objects are used only as temporary dwelling places and should not be confused with the Abosum themselves. Abosum are essentially spirit. So now we know that the Abosum are netter. Let's read that over and just stick netter in there, right? It says this. Although the netter or the netteru often embody various manifestations of nature, i.e. wind, bodies of water, trees, mountains, hills, animals, etc. These objects are used only as temporary dwelling places and should not be confused with the netteru themselves. The netteru are essentially spirit. Understand that. Please understand that. And you dealing with Africans. Asante Temple University, Amamazama. Molifi Kite. Next slide. So we're going to abomination. I'm going to end it with a couple of slides here, fellas. Right? So my first one is this. We're going to pull out the sword. KJV. Isaiah 8, 19 through 20. And when they should say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not as people seek unto their God? For the living to the dead? To the law and to the testimony? If they speak not according to this word, it is because no light is in the scumbags. Deuteronomy 18, 10 through 13. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or daughter pass through the fire, or that use divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a counselor with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God drove them out from before them. That's why we still got them scattered. That's why we ain't at the bottom of the totem pole. That's why we the first by the last high. That's why we the greatest at everything we do, but the last ones to get pointed to do it. That's why they pick 1,000 Nancys and Clarks on the job application before they come to a nigga named Kevin or somebody named Rodell. And we smarter than all of them. Let's go. Thou shalt seek perfection with the Lord thy God, not with no spirits. Serving a creature. Romans 1:19-25. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. I'm a Rock Squad. Team on silence. Okay. They are without excuse, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but because of vain and their imaginations and their foolish hearts was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became a bunch of fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image, and made like unto corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts, and every creeper thing, whereof God also gave them up upon to cleanliness through their lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own people, or dishonor their own bodies between themselves. You understand? So he's talking about you homosexuals as well. Get it understood. Women changing the natural use of their body, going into what's against nature. Man burning their lust, man on man. Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the creator? These clowns around here. Amen. 4 signs. Deuteronomy 4:16-20. Lest ye corrupt yourself and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, and even all the hosts of heaven, shouldn't be driven down to worship them and serve them, which the Lord God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. But the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth up out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of his unto him of inheritance. Right? So, as we see, all praises be to the Most High. As we see, and that concludes the presentation. As we see, family, we dealing with some stuff that these brothers ain't ready for. And another thing, I got about 180 more slides that I'm gonna be doing probably next week or something. I'm gonna be doing some more shows on them. I'm gonna be going, and then I'm about to start going into the history, because these people don't know history. They talking about where y'all Hebrews at. Look on the walls, you see Hebrews everywhere. Y'all just don't know who it is. And listen, we gonna go into the history about the biblical narrative and how this is factual. Everything we see in the earth, we can go in the Bible and examine. We can look in the scriptures and then look on earth and see everything that's going on. You can't find no other book to do that. No other book in the world can you look in that book and then look at earth and then see the exact condition that this book is talking about. You can't find it in no other school of thought, no other spiritual system. It just won't happen. So now, with that being said, I conclude with this presentation. Thank everybody for their support. Thank everybody. I even want to thank the Amara Squad. I want to thank Team Osiris. I want to thank every Israelite camp, every non-Israelite camp. every Israelite that's not in the camp. I want to thank every Bible believer, every Christian, every Muslim, everybody, every 5%er, every sheep, everybody whoever gave me any type of enlightenment and put me on this journey. I want to thank them. Because it's because of y'all that I had the chance to sit back and listen to how silly people sound. You get what I'm saying? By me coming out of or dealing with the lessons of the 5% nation, I understood a lot of the metaphysical, metaphorical, allegorical stuff. So that's what one thing with me and his brother Kansu, we always had an agreement on and saw eye to eye, because he would be popping and I would be popping back and he'd be like, damn, God, you see that? And I'd be like, I saw that too. But then you have brothers, not to put that brother on the spot, but you have brothers like him who would try to just look at it metaphorical or allegorical and try to remove the physical Christ from out of the picture and say, no, it was just allegorical. It was just metaphorical. Christ is the zodiac or the constellations. Well, the constellations, we weren't even dealing with 12 zodiacs in the time of Christ. Some people had 13 zodiacs. Some people say there was 13 zodiacs. We weren't dealing with zodiacs, period, in the time of Christ. So that what that is some Greek rendition leaked off into our not into our book, because you won't find it in there, or our records, but it's leaked off into the Christian church, and by it being leaked off into the Christian church, it's been spewed to the world, or the world see that and say, oh, they attach that back to the Bible. And if they only read the Bible, they'll see anything they're thinking biblically in their mind that's attached to the Bible is probably not attached to the Bible, because they've been Christianized and westernized just like we have. And then they come right up out of the Christian school, that Christian way, and then they go right to Kemet. So then they run into a brother like me and then come at me with a biblical Christianity argument or a Roman Catholic argument. Not knowing, brother, you've been learning the Bible all the time. For some people, that's demons. They don't even know the scriptures. So you mean to tell you think you're going to fool me? Just like Polite said, I'm going to give you a perfect example. This brother stood in front of ISUBK the one time when him and Minister Inch was out there. He stood in there and said, the ISUBK, y'all teach people go to hell, but we all know the energy never dies. E equals MC squared. But I just showed if Ketty destroys the Unk, the Bob, the Cot, in every aspect of man, what does this say about E equals MC squared? Think about that. So, like I said, family, it's just something we got to work on, and I appreciate everybody for showing support and just bearing with me, man, because you know when I'm very passionate about this, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm very passionate about this. So I'm gonna turn the floor over now for open discussion, and you brothers, I'm gonna stop this broadcasting this, and you brothers can